Hey everyone, it's Nolan Wheeler here for another episode of Modern Work Mondays. I am your host, and with me, as always, my co-host.
The often less excitingly dressed Jeff Strasser from Microsoft. I always feel like uh, very insecure in my wardrobe selection when we talk. Like you come
Oh
off as
goodness,
very stylish, and I'm very average.
this is just like a uniform at this point, buddy. You sharply outdressed me the last call, so
Oh
it's not
yeah,
always that
yeah,
way.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty rare.
Anyways, today we're going to talk about legacy voice. Like we wish we didn't have to do this, and I could never have imagined that this is where we would be. But at the end of the day, you got to meet customers where they're at, and there's just so much legacy voice out there. I was doing some Chat GPT the other day, and it didn't yet even know the billions of devices in terms of like they couldn't. Chat GPT couldn't like wrap its head around how many two-way radios are out there and then how many like legacy paging phone systems are out there. But it is just so predominantly where so much of the world is, and some of it's for good reason, and it'll probably never migrate away. But the other part of it is just like it works and it's not broken, and there's not the capital to go and restack that whole thing. So let's just talk about like technology and how we wish the world was one way, but we have to accept the world as it is and how we meet them there.
Yeah, yeah. It's it's an opportunity, right, to go bridge that gap between some of these legacy platforms and the new technologies that are really driving the business forward. Um, but it's also kind of unfortunate because there's so many things that some of these more modern technologies can enable even more quickly, right? But it's understandably like these are big investments, right? Big capital expenditures to replace PBXs and phone like legacy phones in stores, radios with modern Zebra or other devices. And so there needs to be a balance there. I would love to see the legacy phone that's mounted to the post within the big box retailer and the PBX that's on site somewhere ripped out, because there's so many opportunities to go to IP-based voice and integrating agents into those conversations and all the amazing scenarios that can be enabled by a modern telephony system in a store, um, and then bringing those out to every employee through a modern device, whether that's with walkie-talkie or um, a traditional dial tone. But so many interesting scenarios, but again, super expensive, takes time. If you're talking thousands of stores, you're talking, many thousands of devices, and these are multi-year projects, even when the investment's there. So I'd love your thought on, how we enable all these amazing tools and technologies that do allow stores to operate more efficiently and better serve their customers, but with the limitations of some legacy hardware.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I would never have imagined that we'd be playing around with legacy voice, right? It's just when you're an innovative company, you end up being drawn to innovative companies. So, as you know, and there's been some stuff about Walmart, we work with Walmart, and for them, it was table stakes. Many, many years ago, they said, no, everybody's going to have a smart device, and that's how they operated their shop. So you go work with an innovator like Walmart, and they've already made those investments. But I think really what we've learned is that most organizations are just stuck. They're stuck with the legacy voice, and it's not because it's expensive to go replace like a walkie-talkie with a Zebra device. It's now we have to have a conversation about identity. Now we have to have a conversation about mobile device management. Now we have to go and look at some software for like, what is that comms tool going to be? Are we going to go with Zebra's push to talk? Are we going to go to walkie-talkie and Teams? And it just becomes like too big of a problem. And I think that that's where most people are at. And I stole this word from a retailer from NRF this year. They said we're stuck in radio purgatory, and I think really that's where so much of this is. There's a reason why law enforcement and fire and the rest of it should be on walkie-talkies and never get off walkie-talkies. It is, there are still inherent benefits of using RF for voice over Wi-Fi or other communications stacks, right? But it really just comes down to, it's like, if we're going to get folks off of legacy voice, it's not going to be okay, I've got 90,000 radios and now I'm going to go buy 90,000 Zebras. It's how do we create, you said the word bridge. How do we get a bridge in place so that we can start saying, okay, supervisors and full-time staff, you can take those two-way radios and throw them in the bin, because now we've got a bridge interoperability wise between the Zebra and the legacy voice. I don't see another way to get out of this other than the bridge methodology.
No, and the most important part is what will enable the business to function better, higher velocity, lower cost, better serve customers, and what are the improvements in process or tools that can be unlocked by these, by a more modern, voice platform or device platform, and is there a path to start chipping away? And even if it means incremental gains as opposed to like a wholesale modernization of how the store operates, which to be fair is really difficult to do, even just from a process standpoint. If money wasn't an issue,
The
right?
operational, yeah.
I mean, it's changing everything about how the store will operate. So I think it is departmental, right, or role based. There are leaders that may need these tools. There may be certain roles, whether it's in the warehouse, in the stock room, and other in certain departments that can get more value and impact that department faster. And so it's hitting on those until the time comes where you can go kind of wall to wall with smart devices, and it makes sense. And there will always be roles where it doesn't make sense at all, and those may be purely voice. Now, where how that voice is delivered, is it IP, is it RF? That's a decision that probably is to be determined. But the interfaces, like there are a lot of people that need their hands available all the time, and so if you're making coffee at a coffee shop, you probably need two hands to make most of the crafty beverages with all the customizations and ingredients. And so it's probably helpful to have that be a voice-driven experience as opposed to a smart device experience. So yeah, a lot of things to consider.
Yeah. I mean, I'll let you have the last word. But I mean, my last word will be: it was actually 2 years ago at grocery shop where I had this epiphany with you, which was so many conversations with so many grocers, showing them the really cool stuff we're doing with innovators like Walmart, and them just saying that's yet another reason why Walmart is going to eat our lunch tomorrow. They've made all these investments. They can do this stuff. Nolan, we can't do these things. We're still working on freaking walkie-talkies and paging systems. And it was that blocker, which is, okay, we have to recognize as a business that device blocker, that's going to be our revenue blocker, that's going to be our growth blocker. How do you get around it? And it's just a matter of like, you can't force people to go and adapt to ruggedized mobile compute. You got to meet people where they're at in terms of their technology stack.
Yeah. So not only did your idea come out of grocery shop, I believe this whole conversation came out of that grocery shop when we just were like, hey, these are good conversations. We should probably just record them and maybe somebody will watch them.
Your memory's better than mine. That's awesome. Okay. Well,
Yep.
Next Monday. I'll see you one more time, buddy.
All right. See you then.
Thanks, Jeff.